Hello, friends and comrades. Very good day to all of you. I am Soumya Dutta. I am part of National Alliance of Anti-Nuclear Movement in India, also Friends of the India, and MOSAM, which is a platform of progressive civil society groups. Presently, we are at Belém for the COP30, and I am actively participating in multiple forums, speaking in side events, also campaigning for our issues. So today, now we are actually speaking about the large anti-nuclear campaign that we have launched. There are a lot of groups fighting on the ground where the nuclear sites are, where the government is proposing or pushing for new nuclear power plants. The Friends of the Earth India has recently, after a quite successful webinar, they have decided to launch a national campaign. And I'm explaining why we need to focus on this, why this issue is extremely important for India, not only in India, but also for our neighboring countries and comparatively poorer and smaller countries which do not have the wherewithal to go for nuclear in a whole sense, but they are being encouraged. See, in India, there are two existing laws which has prevented very widespread use of nuclear energy by private corporation. One is the old 1962 Atomic Energy Act, which prevents any private corporation or private entity from owning or operating a nuclear power plant in Indian territory. So as of now, by that act, it is only Indian government companies, which are public sector companies, they can own and operate nuclear power plant. And as of now, the Nuclear Power Corporation of India, NPCIL, that is the only company which is operating the 23 nuclear reactors in India. Of course, the NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, they are also entering that. But the government has very clearly signaled, they have brought out in the budget speech, they have repeatedly, the very senior ministers, they have repeatedly stated that we want to do away with this act. We want to enable the private sector to come and set up nuclear power plants and operate them. So one of the greatest dangers of this move is because the private operators will work mostly for profit. Second, they are far less accountable to the public. A public sector company through the government is more accountable to the public. So there are, for any violations or possible violations and that doing due diligence, we have a better leverage, better handle to deal with the public sector and the government, because as voters, as citizens, we have a leverage with the government. But if we are dealing with private sector companies who are bound by the secrecy agreement, commercial agreement, then even the information content that we know, we now can have to some extent will go. So this is one great danger. The dilution or abolition of the Atomic Energy Act will be a great danger. The second bad move that the government is taking is diluting the Civil Liabilities for Nuclear Damages Act 2010. In 2010, if people recall, after a lot of debate, after the US-India 123 agreement, so a lot of debate in the parliament, this law was introduced, which is a minimal safeguard for any possible nuclear accident, where if such an accident happens, either a spill or a meltdown like a big accident, the operator can sue the supplier and the contractors if there is a deficiency in service or if the equipment supplied is defective and which has caused or contributed to the accident. But the new amendments that the government is proposing to cap this limit of liability to a very small amount, about less than $100 million for the suppliers, and the operator will be eliminated from more than 500 crores. That is an Indian rupee, which is again much less than $100 million. So as we know from Fukushima and Chernobyl, a major nuclear accident can cost tens of billions of dollars in response. So giving a cap of $100 million or less for a nuclear accident is an invitation for disaster. Because if this is the cap, then most private companies would not like to do due diligence, not like to invest in very expensive safety measures. They will rather take the chance, and if in case accident happens, they will wash their hands off by paying this peltry money. The third area that the government is simultaneously doing, which is again a very dangerous move, very risky move, is that they are pushing for, and which is a global trend, which is not only in India, which is a global trend, pushing for SMRs or small modular reactors. The problem is in India today we have the lowest capacity is 220 megawatt reactors, and we have 1000 megawatt reactors in Kudankulam supplied by the Russians. But if we are pushing for 50 megawatt or 55 megawatt reactors, that can be established in a small area of maybe 100 acres or less in a around a small town. So in these cases, the local population, they will not even be very much aware of what is happening, the kind of danger that is awaiting them, and there will be very little knowledge of what kind of radioactivity is leaking out, because this is a small area which can be enclosed by a high concrete wall or something. So if we are going ahead, and in this budget, the latest budget, 2025-26 budget, the government has put more than 3 billion, nearly $3 billion, not more, nearly $3 billion to develop, test and establish five SMR, small modular reactors of different kinds. So this money, along with the policy changes, along with the allowing private corporations, is going to open up the nuclear sector to smaller, comparatively smaller and medium private corporation, which is a really dangerous move. And this is not only confined to India. What is happening in neighboring smaller countries is that because India has this, like Bangladesh has no capacity, no knowledge about the entire nuclear fuel cycle. But Bangladesh has gone ahead with the Rupur nuclear power plant, which is being constructed by Indian companies, which is being supplied by Russian company Rosatom. So even smaller countries with little capacity for the entire nuclear fuel chain management, they are going ahead on the nuclear, and as a result, the fissile material, which is common to both nuclear reactors and nuclear bombs, because if you cannot use natural uranium for a bomb, but the reactor produces plutonium 239, which can be chemically extracted and which is a very good material for a nuclear bomb. So this also escalates the risk of nuclear weapons proliferation. This proliferation will lead to potential disaster for any smaller, even smaller wars. Smaller countries who are not able to tackle with the conventional weapons, they can resort to nuclear weapons. Like Pakistan has repeatedly said that if we are threatened and our country is threatened, we will not desist from using nuclear weapons first. So the no first use policy is also gone. We are trying to proliferate new nuclear reactors, and by that new nuclear material, fissile materials, and this will create a danger in entire South Asia and might spill over to Southeast Asia also. So we are calling for support from international community to condemn this move by the Indian government, to resist this move in other forums outside India, to highlight that this is a dangerous move, and we must not do this today. The nuclear power generation, production of nuclear power is more than twice as expensive as producing solar power. A new solar photovoltaic power plant produces power in India for 3 rupees a kilowatt hour. A new nuclear power plant produces for more than 6 to 8 rupees. So there is no economic logic. The logic of that, okay, it will be a grid scale stable power, backup power, is also not very true, because nuclear power plants often, though they are very stable in operation, but scaling up is very difficult. And this is lastly, this is not at all a climate solution. This is a false solution, because it's true that after many years of operation, a nuclear power plant becomes carbon neutral. But in the beginning, the huge amount of construction, the carbon that is involved in cement, concrete, steel and everything, the carbon that is involved in the nuclear fuel chain is net carbon positive. So it will accelerate climate change threats, it will not reduce. And we don't have 15-20 years of time that after that many years, the nuclear reactors will become carbon neutral and then carbon negative. So this is a false solution. This is not a real solution that we want, and this comes with massive dangers. So we must resist it. And we are looking for support internationally. Thank you.